What's up, fam? I'm Milton from TeamFFLEX. You're on my show I do every single Thursday called Fitness Fire. Fitness Fire, we talk about all the fire topics of the fitness industry, right? Bodybuilding, trends, things that are happening, things that are going on. And today, I want to talk specifically about competing in 2020 with COVID-19, coronavirus pandemic type regulations. I just came from a show that happened last weekend, and I got some information for you guys out here, all right? First though, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel. It's one of 5 awesome shows that I run for you all week right here on TeamFFLEX TV. And then share this video for your friends, your family, your brother, your sister, whoever is watching, right? That's what's important, fam, all right? I'm Milton from TeamFFLEX. You are on Fitness Fire. All right, fam, we've done a lot of content on this channel talking about the coronavirus, COVID-19, the pandemic, how it affects gym closures and what you can do with quarantine workouts, how it's going to affect show dates and contest prep, protocols and things you need to do to get ready for a stage, how it's affecting just basically your overall health and fitness life. We've done a lot of content. We've talked a lot about it, especially the bodybuilding, the shows and all that. And now I finally have a little bit of actual first-hand information for you guys based on my experience this past weekend at the NPC Motherload. It's crazy to say this, but it's true. This is the first competition I've been to in 2020. Normally, by this time of year, it's literally July 2nd right now. Normally, by this time of year, I've already been to probably 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 shows between going to sponsored events and, ones where we have athletes and so on. For years, I've done that. This year, this is my first one. Obviously, we all know why. Coronavirus, the pandemic, COVID-19 has pushed things back. It has set a lot of restrictions. It has canceled many events. It has changed the landscape of competing in 2020. And the first show, one of the first ones that has been able to run since, was the NPC Motherload. And this just happened by Center Podium up in Reno. And I'm actually a sponsor with their event, so I was able to attend this. And basically, I went up there to Reno, you guys, and I want to give you a little bit of a background, a little bit of insight into how the whole process went, how things worked, and what could potentially become of future shows and things like that as we continue to navigate this crazy landscape during this pandemic. Basically, I'm going to give you a quick overview and then we'll dig into some other topics, but here's how it kind of worked, okay? So, first regulations were basically set by the state, right? So the state of Nevada had set regulations for how the whole thing is going to run in general, right? And every state has their own. Every county even has some different ones sometimes. It's, a whole different thing about going around the world. I'm just giving you guys the experience of what happened up here at this event. So there was a limit to how many people could attend the event and therefore not allowed to have a live audience, okay? The event was an entirely live streamed event. There was no ticket sales, no audience allowed. And basically, even at that, coaches could come if they had a pass and they did all these things, and if there was still room for them, basically, because every single area you were in this big building, this convention center, you had to follow the regulation. You had to make sure you were not over a certain amount of people, and therefore that is kind of how they were able to traverse this. But there was no audience, there was only a live stream, and that was the only way you could really watch the show, okay? So that's one thing that has happened here. I don't know if that's going to be something we'll see at future events. I know a lot of events do streams and things like that. Center Podium has honestly been doing live stream for a long time. They're way ahead of the game with that. And obviously they were still able to put this event on for mainly just the athletes, honestly, because of the fact there was no audience, there was nothing like that. However, everybody could still attend on the live stream, and those of you that did, great that you continue to support the sport even though you could not attend the event live yourself, okay? And so that was one thing, right? That's one thing that we might see at future events. I don't know. I can't tell you guys. I have no other insight. I'm just speculating based on, obviously this event worked. It happened. It was successful. There was no problems. Every regulation was followed, and everything worked out pretty well. Okay, so live streams, that's one thing. Another way that they were running the event up here was mandatory masks, okay? So again, mandated by the state, had to follow this. Everybody had to wear a mask. I had to wear a mask the entire day I was there, and honestly, had no problem doing this. I know that a lot of people feel very differently about these things, but if it's the only way that we can go to events and we can do things and, you know, it's being enforced, then absolutely, that is something that is gonna be done by me if I can go to the event and I can be there to support my athletes and, you know, do all those things. So basically, everybody was wearing masks all day, the entire time. You know, obviously following the regulation, you can take it off in Nevada to eat and drink and do all those things. Competitors were actually able to take them off when they were on stage, because being on stage, posing, doing all that is considered a physical exertion, and therefore you can actually, they found this out literally moments before the show happened, they would actually be able to take their mask off to go on stage. So they had to wear the mask the entire time otherwise, and literally up until the moment that you were in, you know, the back curtain kind of stepping up onto stage, that was the only time you could take it off. As soon as you got off stage, you had to put it back on. Everybody else in the building wearing the mask 24/7, okay? So that's kind of how this event worked there. I'm not saying that that's the same everywhere else. A lot of places don't have that mask mandate in. I know a lot of states don't do that. I can't say for sure what other shows will do with that. I'm just giving you guys the experience based on what I had and what was going on when we were up there. Mandated masks, had to wear them the entire time. Again, this is the government that has put this rule down. Steve Sisolak had done that right before, honestly, this event, just days out. And so mandatory masks, everybody was wearing masks. I didn't see any issue with this, honestly. I didn't see any competitors having issue with this. I've done live streams with Sandy Williamson and things like that where we've talked about other areas where masks will be mandated. Some other shows we do. I sponsor Spectrum Fitness Productions in California. They have a mask mandate. They're going to have to wear masks. I have not found a competitor yet that is, you know, not willing to wear a mask. And that is important, obviously, because we have to follow the regulations if we want these events to go on. So that is one thing that we could see at future events. We could see at future things. It really depends on what area, what's going on, what county, and what the government is doing with it and what regulations they've instilled.
1, 2, 3!
Another thing that I saw at this event was a lot of cleaning. These guys did great to have entire teams of people cleaning things, okay? And kind of how it worked for competitors and everybody else was literally after every class they were closing it down, shutting the area where the stage was down basically, and they were cleaning everything. Cleaned every single little thing there, and then they were able to you know, have the next class come up. So every time people were up, they took them off, cleaned the room, did all that. It was great. I think that was a very good thing to be doing right now, obviously, but especially it was overdone by these guys at Center Podium. It was a great job. You know, honestly, I was there and I felt like the whole place was very clean and everything was as safe as it could be, honestly. Hand sanitizers, literally, you know, stations of it, literally every 20 feet. You know, I was sanitizing all day, keeping my hands clean, doing all that good stuff. And so, you know, everything was staying clean. Literally, you know, if you were sitting in a spot and then you got up and you left to go get a drink or get some water or something, somebody was watching and they would come over there and clean the area. And so that was great to see. You know, it was very clean, very well kept up in general. As far as that goes, hand sanitizer everywhere, like I said. You know, the ability to just really make sure you were staying on top of your own hygiene and everything else there. And then there was the social distancing where, you know, they distanced it out on the stage so that you were not right next to everybody. They distanced it out as you waited to get on stage. They distanced it everywhere. Everything was socially distanced. There was markers on the ground. There was, you know, signs. There was floor mats. Everything was basically make sure we were following that protocol, making sure everybody was staying in that, you know, within the 6 feet zone, away from each other, 6 feet apart, in other words, and that really worked well here at this event, honestly. Being a sponsor, I'm an award presenter also. I've done this at events for years. Normally, the protocol when you present an award is you hand it to them, you give them a medal. Sometimes it's a tiara for the girls. You put it on them, you do all that, and then you get in the middle and you hold everybody's hands up in the class and you take a picture and do all that. That didn't happen here, right? So because of social distancing and everything like that, we did not do that. What happened basically was the award, I set an award on the ground. I presented bikini overall, set it on the ground in front of the athlete, walked over to the side, stood far, far away and took a picture that way. So we maintained social distancing that way. I still had the mask on my face while I was on stage. Competitors, obviously we talked about, did not have them on stage. So obviously sponsors, award presenters, everybody else was wearing that. And that was another thing that worked really, really well here at these events. I mean, honestly, it was great to see overall, you guys, that we could do a bodybuilding show during the pandemic. It was great to see that was able to happen, with these regulations and following all the protocols, following all the procedures, and honestly taking them further than that, because these guys really did their best, center podium, to make sure that this show ran as good as it could, following every protocol 100%. Obviously there's nobody that wants to have any issues with these things, have anybody not following the protocol, have somebody get sick, God forbid. That's not, what anybody wants to do. So we're trying to have these events run as safely as they can. They're trying to make sure everything is, 100%. And that was really what we saw here at the NPC Motherlode. So that was kind of my experience here, you guys. Everything went well. I had competitors in the show. They followed all the procedures. They followed all the protocols. I don't think that it was all that different, honestly, for the competitors mostly. I mean, a prep is about the prep. It's about doing the training, the nutrition, the training. I mean, that was far different compared to actually what happened on stage, in other words, right? Aside from not having an audience and having to follow these procedures to get to the stage, I mean, there's nothing really that much different about it, because even if we're not in a pandemic, COVID-19 time, bodybuilding shows you still have to follow the procedures, right? You still have to line up, you still have to know your number, you still have to do all the other things. I mean, literally, competitors just had to wear a mask and otherwise socially distance and, just not do other things that we're not supposed to be doing right now. And overall, you still get on stage, you still pose, you still do your presentation, you still do all that kind of the same way. So it's not really that different. I would say the training and the nutrition was a lot different for competitors because of quarantine and things like that, stay-at-home orders. But overall, the whole show experience, it should not have been that much dramatically different for anybody that was there. I mean, me being there myself, right? I've gone to thousands of events at this point in my career, you guys. I've been to so many different events, so many different shows. It didn't feel that different for me, aside from wearing a mask and obviously following the protocols. But the reason I say it doesn't feel different is because that's what we already have to do everywhere we go, right? You go to the grocery store, you have to do these same things. There's hand sanitizers, you gotta stay clean, you gotta socially distance, you gotta wear masks. This is all the same stuff. So it didn't feel that different for me, and even from a coaching perspective, very similar to how I would normally be at an event and everything else, aside from following the procedures and wearing a mask and doing that. So it's really cool to see that bodybuilding shows can happen. The NPC and the IFBB can continue to do shows, and they can do it safely. I just saw it in Reno. I know it can be done other places. I know that it probably will be done in other places, right? And as we continue to traverse this landscape and we learn more and we figure out more and more things go on, there's definitely going to be changes, all right? Some of you are probably watching this video now weeks down the road and you're thinking, dude, everything you're saying isn't even going on anymore. This has changed, that's happened, blah, blah, blah. It could go either way. Either things could be less restrictive, things could be more restrictive, things might stay the same. Who knows at this point in time? But what was great was to see that this could happen, and competitors could do their preps through quarantine. They could do them without the gym. They could show up on stage. They could still, live the life of bodybuilding. And that is an important thing, because I know as many people that are out there that don't want to compete this year because of everything going on, and that's just fine. Improvement season is a great thing to do right now. There are still a lot of people that do want to compete, and there are a lot of people that still want to get on stage and still want to do these things, and they don't have a problem following the regulations. They don't have a problem, wearing masks and doing those things. And it's good for those people to understand that, yeah, shows can happen, things can happen, all right? And that's what did happen up in Reno. Great event, very successful, no problems. Every regulation was followed to a T. Everything went very, very well up there, and it was great to see it happen. What I will say also, everybody watching right now, everything I just told you was based on my singular experience at one bodybuilding event, the NPC Motherload Center Podium up in Reno here on the 27th of June, all right? And that was it. That's what I got. That's my only show this year. I cannot tell you how other things are working in other parts of the country. I haven't been to other shows right now. I can tell you this. I can tell you for sure that every single event that's going to run, if it runs, if it gets postponed, if it gets canceled, if all these things change, if they have different regulations than the ones I mentioned, maybe more, maybe less, it's going to depend on that specific area, wherever the show is running, that state, that county even, that government, and the rules they have placed. The NPC and the IFBB are adapting, and they are doing what they need to do to work in each individual zone with each individual government and the regulations presented, and they're doing the best they can with it. And that's what happened up here in Reno. That's where I was. But I cannot speak for all of every event that's going to happen in the world or the country or anywhere else for that matter. What's going to happen, fam, is that everybody's going to have to adjust. Every event's going to have to adjust. Every promoter's going to have to follow whatever regulations they have at the time, and that's the way it will be. And so as you watch this, and I may have been able to give you some insight, some things to think about, none of what I said may be applicable to your event. A lot of it might be. We don't really know. I can't really tell you. What I can always tell you, though, is to go straight to the promoters for the actual information, okay? If you're doing a show, you guys, anybody out there, I know there's some beginners, so you maybe don't know this. Every show is run by a specific promoter, an event, right? They host it. They have a website where you purchase your tickets, where you register, where you do all that. You can go there and you will be able to actually figure out what the regulations will be from those promoters for your specific event. And that is the best way to do it. That's going to give you the most accurate information. The stuff I say, honestly, is constantly changing. If I looked back at all the videos I've made through these past 6 months about things I was thinking, things I was talking about, a lot's changed. Things are changing by the minute around here, right? Like I was saying, that mask mandate where they said they could take it off on stage for this last show, that happened like, an hour before the event was going. Things are changing all the time. So basically what you want to do is go straight to the promoters, learn the information there. Obviously stay in tune on NPC News Online. If there's any global type of decisions or things that happen, they're going to get the information right there. And they're honestly very good also about keeping you informed with what shows are going on, everything else. NPCNewsOnline.com is the hub of the place to get your information for everything NPC and IFBB, and that's a great place to go. But go straight to your promoters to get the information there. I want to give you guys some insight, but I have no concrete answer. Nothing that I can tell you that's going to be 100%. Don't base your life, don't base your prep, don't do any of that off anything I said in this video. Just make sure you keep an open mind this year. You guys have talked about competing in 2020 as a time to be flexible. You have to really decide what you want to do, where you want to go, what shows you're going to do, how you're going to prep. If you're at home and you got no weights, how are you going to do all these things? And it's a flexible time. But I think if there's anything we learned, that bodybuilding can go through a pandemic. It can happen through a pandemic. You can still train, you can still live the lifestyle, you can still diet. I've seen all that with my clients. I know they're doing it. They're getting great results. And now we know that shows can run too, because we saw one of the first ones run very successfully, NPC Motherload Center Podium. If you guys don't follow those guys, by the way, they run some of the best shows in the game. Go follow them. Check out their channel. Check out their website. Great events this year, you guys, and I'll be at all of them with you too. So there's so many things going on, and there's going to be more things going on, more changes, more stuff going on, but more shows will happen. If you want to compete, you're a competitor, stay on the course. Do your training, do your nutrition, even if you're on lockdown at home again right now. Some people in Arizona don't have gyms, other places might follow. Who knows? Keep the lifestyle going, because the stages will be back. Even if your show gets postponed, it gets delayed, it gets canceled, the stages will be back, and you can be a part of it when they come back, fam. So I hope at the end of the day I gave you some insight. If anybody wants to ask me more questions, whatever, all this information I know the Center Podium guys have up for you too. You can check that out, but feel free to ask me anything. I can tell you about my side of the experience. I might not have a lot of the information about all the, the important stuff that regarding how this event went on and stuff like that, but I can tell you how it was for me, and it was a huge success. Felt very safe, felt like everything was done correctly. Every regulation that I know about was followed 100%, all right? So hope you got something out of this, you guys. Subscribe to my channel, please. Share out the video. I'm Milton from TeamFFLEX. You're on Fitness Fire.